Let's start with now the new topic, that is the firm and the market structures. So in the previous topic, we have understood the demand and supply in basic, including the elasticity, right? And now we are going to understand the same and in much detail as to how much to produce, what is the point where the company or the firm may get maximum profit. So all these different structures, like monopoly or perfect competition, we are going to see different types of market structures. And in that particular market structure, what is the point where, till what point should you produce or shut down and all those things. So that's what this topic is going to deal with. So the understanding of this topic is very crucial from understanding the, how industries operate or how companies operate, what they think, and, how they can maximize their profits and all. That is what we'll be understanding in this particular topic. So we have various market structures. Let me reiterate those market structures. Perfect competition on the extreme side, right? And then you have monopoly on the other extreme side. Well, what is market, by the way? Market is a place where buyers and sellers, come together to perform the activity. So when a group of buyers and sellers that are aware about each other and are able to agree on a price for exchange of goods and services. So they come to a particular market, that's where they exchange the goods or services. That is what the market is. So how extreme can be the market? Either it can be perfect competition, where the competition is severe. There are too many firms in the market, almost all of them selling similar products, right? And there is a very much difficulty in terms of raising the price because it's highly competitive. So in perfect competition is a situation where we will understand now in detail as well. The firms do not have control on the price. The market demand and supply control the price, right? So the firms are ideally called as price takers in perfect competition. Are you getting me? Why? Because so many firms are competing. There is very low barriers to entry, right? And then we will understand how the demand curve and everything works. But the competition is just based on price because products are identical, similar. Got it? For example, a market for milk, a market for wheat. Here, the product is same. There is no difference between the products. So the only differentiation between the sellers is all about what? Price.
Price.
Here, the firms are price takers. They will take whatever the price is, right? The market demand and supply will decide the price, not the company, not the firm will decide the price. So that's what perfect competition is. And on the other extreme end, then we have monopoly. And in between that, we have monopolistic competition and oligopoly. So we are going to understand each and every one, and then we'll do this summarization. But the level of competition reduces when you go from perfect competition to monopoly. In fact, in monopoly, you just have a single seller. Now, before we jump into what are these different market structures, we need to understand that what are the factors which will perhaps tell us that what type of market it is. So there are various factors we are going to consider which will help us define that this is a particular market structure. As I have displayed here, the characteristics, they are the same characteristics which will tell us that which type of market it is. For example, the first thing is number and relative size of whom the suppliers. So if there is a single supplier, we know it's a monopoly. If there are too many suppliers, it's a perfect competition, right? The degree of product differentiation. Is the product unique amongst all, or is there a product differentiation, or whether there is a substitute or absolutely no substitute? That's what will define the second criteria, which will define which type of market it is. The third is the power of the seller over the pricing decision, whether the seller is a price taker or a price setter, or someone who will decide the price or someone who will take the price. That is the third thing. The fourth is how hard the barriers are. Are the barriers too difficult, too much for some new companies to enter? Then it's a monopoly. If not, if it's very easy, then it's a perfect competition, right? And finally, the degree of non-price competition, whether the competition is just restricted to price or there are other features also to compete. So based on all these criteria, we can perhaps conclude which type of market it is. Okay, so we are going to do 4 types of market here: perfect competition, monopolistic competition, oligopoly, and monopoly. Many of these things we have already covered in the economics in our college days or school days and all, right?
Yes.
So what's new here? Well, there's nothing new here as such, but we are going to understand, our objective here is to basically understand how companies behave, how they think, and what situation they are into, which will define us. You remember the Michael Porter's 5 forces that we discussed?
Yes.
So we need to see the advantage of the company or the firm that we are looking for. Accordingly, we'll bet our money on it, right? So that comparative advantage needs to be seen of a particular industry or a sector or a company. And that's where this analysis will be very, very, very crucial. Okay. See, from a customer's point of view, we always love perfect competition. But from an investor's point of view, I would be more happy with the monopoly. Correct? So that will define me the advantage of the company in terms of making money. Okay. Let's understand that. Do you recollect something from the previous topic we discussed, marginal cost and marginal revenue? Right? We discussed something about marginal.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
additional utility.
Correct. Additional, you can say, benefit that you get for selling one more unit of product, that is marginal revenue, and the cost for selling one more unit of product, that is marginal cost.
Marginal cost.
So I will just disclose you what is the situation here. You have the output and you have the price. If I multiply the output with price, what do I get?
Total revenue.
Total revenue, right? So if I multiply the output with price, I get the total revenue, correct? Now, I have given you the total cost as well. If you see that when the output is 0 also, there is a cost, correct? Which is the possible thing, which is a fixed cost. What do you notice about the revenue? The revenue is increasing constantly. For every unit, we have same price. So the revenue is increasing constantly, right? But the cost, initially it is initially per unit cost. If I want to see whether the costs are increasing, well, the total costs are increasing, but I would want to see for selling one more unit extra, is the cost increasing or not? So if you see, the cost is initially increasing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then it is increasing substantially to 15. So after a point, the marginal cost is so high that it may exceed the marginal revenue also. For example, if you see till the 5 units that are produced, what is the situation below 5? The marginal revenue is
more than the marginal cost.
Marginal revenue is more than the marginal cost, right? So still I am not making profits. I will make profit at the point where MC equals to MR. The maximum profit that generally we make is the point where marginal cost equals to marginal revenue. Why not after that? Because after that, if you see, the marginal cost has started increasing. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So if you are a company who wants to maximize profit, which every company is, by the way, till what point should I produce? You should produce till the point where MC equals to MR. Are you getting this?
Yes.
Because if you produce less than that, that means your marginal revenue is higher than marginal cost. So then you should not wait for it. You should maximize your profit by producing more. For example, see this. At unit, when I'm selling 3 units, my marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. Correct?
Yes.
And I'm only selling 3 units, but I can sell more units and make profits, right? So why not? I should sell more. So I should not sell anything less than MC minus less than MC when marginal revenue is less than marginal cost. I should not sell less. I should sell more, because below this point, your marginal revenue is higher, so you can sell more products. And beyond this point, the marginal cost is higher, so you cannot sell. Otherwise, you'll make losses. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
What is the point, the trigger point till which we should sell? That point is called the point. See, one more thing. Do you want maximum price or maximum profit?
Profit.
Profit, right? At the end of the day, we want more and more profits. Correct? So more profits are till the point where your marginal revenue is equal to marginal cost. That's the point where you have maximum profit. Okay. Below that, you have profits, but you can still sell more output and maximize it. So I can make more profits at below this point also, but the maximum point where I make the maximum, the point where I make the maximum profit is the point where MC and MR are same. Is that clear?
Yes.
What does this mean? Let's read this. For this marginal revenue and marginal cost, we've already discussed, right? The company maximizes its profit at a point where MR equals to MC when MR is less than MC. When MR, marginal revenue, is less than MC, right? The bottom point. A company is producing too much and should decrease its quantity supplied until MR equals to NCC. So you are producing so much that your costs are increasing heavily than your revenue. So you should stop producing more. On the other hand, when MR is greater than MC, which means marginal revenue is higher than marginal cost, the point below output 5, the company is not producing enough goods and should increase its output to maximize the profit. So below MR, when the MR is less than MC, right, you should stop producing, otherwise you'll suffer losses, right? If your MR is more than MC, that means you have more of the opportunity to increase your production and sell, basically. So that's where you can maximize the profit. So what is that profit maximization point? Every time, whether it's perfect competition, monopoly, oligopoly, or whatever, the point where the companies are going to maximize profit is always the point where MC equals to MR. Right?
Yes.
So now let's go to one by one perfect competition. Well, we discussed a lot of things about perfect competition. Now here, in most of the cases, many of the things we have covered in the previous topic, so it will be very easy to understand through the diagram. Perfect competition is very important. We need to understand that in detail. First, we'll talk about individual firms. So in perfect competition, as I said, individual firms are price takers. They will take whatever the price is because the market will decide the price. It's very competitive. And the demand schedule is perfectly elastic. What do you mean by perfectly elastic? That a small change in price will result in huge change in quantity. Correct? When it's perfectly elastic means it's a situation where even if I change the price slightly, if I increase the price slightly,
it has no effect on the demand.
No effect on the quantity, right?
Yes.
That's why the demand curve is horizontal. Do you remember that? Here, in case of elasticity, when the demand is perfectly elastic, the demand curve is horizontal.
Horizontal.
Correct. That's why you see here the demand curve is horizontal. Correct. So here I have the price and here I have the quantity. Right. So the demand curve is horizontal. So this is the point. This is also the point. This is also my price. So here the demand is also my price. And in perfect competition, will you be able to change the price?
No.
No, right? So for every unit, your marginal revenue, see here, when I showed you here, if I kept the price constant, so what happened with my marginal revenue? My marginal revenue was also constant, right? Do you observe this?
Yes.
The price constant, I cannot change the price, right? So my marginal revenue and price are both same.
Same.
So perfect competition is a point where demand equals to price equals to marginal revenue. Okay. And if you notice with the cost, what happens with the cost? The cost generally keeps on rising with more and more unit you produce. So the cost is somehow like this. This is your marginal cost. Correct? And tell me one thing, a profit maximization firm will produce till the point where?
MR is equal to MC.
Correct. So how much to produce? That quantity where I'm going to produce is this. This is that point. This is the point where MR equals to MC. Is that clear? Right?
Yes.
Now see a situation. price equals to marginal revenue equals to average revenue, and so on. In a perfect competition, a firm will continue to expand production until MR equals to MC. For a price taker, marginal revenue is simply the price, because why? All additional units are sold at the same price. Therefore, in pure competition, a firm's marginal revenue is equal to the market price, and a firm's MR curve is identical to the demand curve, which is
Horizontal.
because it's perfectly elastic. Therefore, a profit maximization maximizing firm will produce till the point where Q star, where MC equals to MR.
MR.
Clear?
Yes.
Now, what will the companies do in short run and long run? Do you recollect something from the previous topic that you should sell till what point of time? So, in the short run, you know the point that economic profit is possible. Why is it possible? Because in the short run, there is a possibility where you will be selling at a price which is higher than the ATC. Do you see ATC, average total cost?
Yes.
And above this point, you get economic profit, correct? Right. So profit maximization occurs at where total revenue is greater than total cost. Economic loss will occur when you are selling for any units for which MR is less than MC. So when you're selling at when you're selling quantity where your marginal revenue is less than marginal cost, then you will suffer loss. At any of the above quantity where MR equals to MC, the firm will be generating losses on its marginal production and will maximize profits by reducing the output to where MR equals to MC. So at any quantity above MR equals to MC does not make sense. Now, if you notice here, what happens initially, if you see on the marginal basis approach, you will make profit at a point if you're selling at a point which is above the average total cost, correct? So this is my economic profit for an individual company basis, you can say. Why is there economic profit? Because the price is above
Average total cost.
Average total cost, right? Now, again, the profit maximizing point is the point where MC equals to MR. So this point, this is the point where I will sell the quantity. So my quantity sold will be at this point where MR equals to MC always. Now we are seeing this from the marginal approach. If we see from the total approach, what happens? The total revenue is increasing and the total cost is a straight line. That's what they've said. So here, if you notice slightly, there is a point where total revenue and total cost, the gap is maximum between total revenue and total cost. Now, let me just show you that properly. At this point, what is happening at this point? The gap between total revenue and total cost is maximum. So that's the profit maximizing output. Now you can see from the total approach also, you can see from the marginal approach.
Marginal.
Now, overall, what happens in the perfect competition? In a perfect competition, firms will not earn economic profit for any significant period, which means here what you saw, the economic profits on the top, they are only possible for a very short period. Why? Because others will enter. It's a perfect competition. There are no enough barriers, right? So looking at this profit, lucrative profit, new firms will enter into the industry and then the economic profits will be zero, because then the price will come down to the point where it is equal to average total cost. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
Right. In equilibrium, each firm is producing the quantity for which price equals to MR equals to MC, which is equal to ATC. So over a longer period of time, what will happen? Your price will be equal to where MR equals to MC, and this is the same point where it is equal to ATC. So this is the point where your economic profit is zero and each firm is producing the same quantity, right? Hence, no firm earns economic profit and each firm is producing the quantity for which ATC is at minimum. So if you see the average total cost, the point where it is lowest, that's where the production point is. So this will happen when the new firms enter, and new firms will be easily able to enter if there is economic profit. So whatever the economic profit that you see here, they are not going to last long, right? Because of the less barriers to entry. Now you know where you should operate and where you should shut down. I don't even have to read that because we
Yes.
covered that in the previous topic. So let's say your price is at this point, but if you're able to sell at this point, we make at P1. See, where is the ATC? The ATC is here. So if you sell below this point, this is the point where you will make economic losses below ATC, correct?
Below it is. Yes.
So in between this point, for example, in between this economic loss, what should I do? My price is below ATC, but not below average variable cost. What should I do?
We should stay for in the short run.
Correct. And in the long run, I should
Exit.
So if we notice the same thing here, economic losses of the firm where price is less than ATC, the firm must decide whether to continue or shut down. A firm will minimize its losses in the short run by continuing to operate because price is less than ATC but higher than
Average variable cost.
So it is at least able to cover its variable cost, right? But if the firm is not able to cover its variable cost, then it should shut down its operation immediately, lay off the workers and get out of the business, because then it is not able to cover any sort of cost. So in order to reduce that fixed cost also, it's better for the firm to shut down. If the firm does not believe that the price will ever exceed the ATC, then going out of the business is the only way to eliminate fixed cost. Clear?
Yes.
We've known about this from the previous
Yes.
section. Now, this is what we all discussed from the demand point of view and all. Now, from the supply point of view, we will first discuss the firm and then the market supply. If you notice here from the firm point of view and from the market supply, so basically what happens to the firm, the addition of that will be to the market. We will come to that point. So when I see the supply curve from the firm point of view, each firm will produce a quantity as long as price is greater than AVC along the marginal cost. So whenever the price is greater than average variable cost, so we will be producing till this point where the price is above P1, correct?
Yes.
Now, this is for the firm. On the market level, what happens when the supply quantity is added up, it will create a short-term supply curve for the market, which is slightly upward moving. Okay. The price taker should produce with the point where price equals to marginal cost. The firm will shut down at price below P1. Between P1 and P2, it will continue to operate. At P2, what will happen at P2? It will break even. That means economic profit will be equal to zero. We will have maximizing economic profits, right? Thus, the short-run supply curve for a firm is MC line above the AVC. MC line above the AVC. So the point above AVC on the MC line is the point for the company to operate. Correct? The short-run market supply curve, which is horizontal sum of all the MC curves of all the firms in the given industry. Therefore, if I add all the industry, then I will get a short-run supply curve. Because firms will supply more units at a higher price. The demand curve is downward sloping, but the supply curve is normally
upward. So
the short-run market supply curve slopes upward to the right. For the overall industry, it will slope upwards. Now, again, if you notice here, since perfect competition, there is very less chances that you will be able to make economic profits. So everyone will be producing till the point where price equals to average total cost. Okay. Because that's the point where what will happen? That is the point where economic profit will be equal to zero. Right? So that's what happens in the perfect competition. Whenever there is higher economic profits, what will happen? New firms will enter into the business. And therefore, the economic profits won't last. That's the situation in perfect competition. Clear?
Yes.
Now, few things about what happens when there is a change in the demand. Now, this is very interesting. So now we are going to understand the effects of basically demand. We understood everything from the supply point of view. Now we are going to understand what happens when there is a change in demand, and that change in demand in the short run and long run, and a permanent change. Now, first, we are understanding short-run adjustment to an increase in demand. I am doing short-run adjustment for an increase in demand. Now, when I say increase in demand, just see the point here. What is happening to the demand curve? It is slightly increasing from, when the demand increases, it goes from which point to which point?
T1 to T2.
Yes, so slightly it increases on the right. So this is the point. Okay. Now, as the demand increased, right, on the same supply curve, what happened? The quantity also increased and the price also increased. Do you notice that?
Yes.
Correct. Now, this is what we need to keep in mind. So in the short run, an increase in market demand, right, which is demand curve will be shifting to the right, will increase both equilibrium quantity and price, right? And if there is a decrease, simultaneously, there would be decrease on both the sides. The change in equilibrium price will change the demand curve faced by each individual firm and the profit maximizing output of the firm. An increase in market demand from D1 to D2 increases the price from P1 to P2 and quantity from Q1 to Q2. This is what will happen in the short run when there is an increase in demand. Correct? Very easy.
Yes.
Now, from the individual firm's point of view, we notice that the short run effect of increase in market price, since the price has increased from P1 to P2 and the quantity has also increased, right? So if you stay on the same marginal cost curve, where initially it was P1 and Q1, now the price has also increased and the quantity has also increased. Correct? So what happens at this point? So we notice that the short run effect of increase in market price on the output of the individual firm, where higher price leads to a greater profit maximizing output Q2. So now everyone moves to Q2 where MC equals to the new price. And at that point, we earn economic profit for the short run. But this is not going to happen forever. Why? In the long run, some firms will increase their scale of operation in response to the new demand, which is increased, and new firms will likely enter the industry because there are less barriers, right? So if there is too much of demand, new companies will also jump in. Okay. And hence the equilibrium price and quantity will fall. And in the long run, firms will decrease their scale of operation or exit. So this is very short-lived. In the short run, is economic profits possible? In the short run, are economic profit possible? Yes. They're very much possible in the perfect competition, but as soon as that happens, what happens? New
firms enter.
Firms will jump in, right? So in the long run, what will happen? That's what we will see. We just saw that in the short run, if there is an increase in demand, the price and the quantity both will increase and the firm will earn economic profits. But in the long run, as I said, what will happen? In the long run, new companies will jump in. So as the firm's long run adjustment may be either to alter the size of the plant or leave the market. Now, those companies which are newly entered, and if they find that there are no economic profits, they may shut down. But those companies which are already existing and they will feel that there is no economic profit, they will not shut down, but they will lower down their operations. They will scale down their size. This is called downsizing. So when the car industry, the auto sales were not as great in the couple of decades, especially after the 2007-8 crisis, then many of the car companies were on the verge of bankruptcy and they did shut down. For example, General Motors had to shut down. But then, the other alternative that they have is to reduce their plant capacity, stop the sales for a while, right? So firms have increased their plant sizes to increase output. Whenever there is an increase in output, they have increased the plant size. While firms such as Ford and General Motors have decreased the plant size to reduce the economic loss. This is called downsizing. So whenever you see there is an economic losses because new firms are entered and there is high competition, so the firms need not always shut down. They can reduce the size of their operations. That is called downsizing. So in the long run, what will happen? In the long run, there will be no economic profits in the long run. Why?
Because the new firms will enter.
So in the short run, yes, the price and demand both will rise, the price and quantity will rise. But looking at that, new firms will enter, and in the long run, every company will earn economic profit is equal to 0, right?
Yes.
Now, if there is a permanent change in demand, not short run, but there is a permanent change in demand. Again, if you notice, the demand curve moves from D0 to D1, correct? Right?
Yes.
So the demand curve has moved from D0 to D1. At that time, initially the price increases. Because on the same supply curve, if you notice, when I add another demand curve, what happens? The price jumps from P0 to P1.
P1.
And initially the quantity also increases to Q1 because there is a new demand, right? So what happens here, when there is a permanent change in demand, it leads to entry of new firms or exit of firms from an industry. There is a permanent change, which can be increase or decrease. At P0, each firm was producing Q0 and everyone was earning normal profit, where MC was equal to MR equals to price. Now, if the industry demand permanently increases, causing an industry demand curve to shift towards the right to D1, the new market price will be P1, output will be Q1, and P1 will be greater than average total cost. That means there will be economic profits. Correct? Looking at this, new firms will enter into the market and increase the total quantity by the industry, total industry supply. So now the supply will also increase from S0 to S1. Correct? The supply will also increase. S0 to S1 because new companies have started up the production and they are also now selling. Now, due to this, what happens? The price will again move back to P0. You notice this? And the quantity will move to Q2. So what has happened? Overall, due to the permanent change in demand, initially the price and the quantity both
increased.
Both increased. But now new firms have entered and they've started supplying more. So the prices have fallen down and the quantity supplied overall for the firm has increased. Overall for the industry has increased. Right?
Yes.
But on an individual basis, everyone is producing still the same share. So the new quantity which is now being sold is taken over by the new companies. So on an individual basis, the companies are still at Q0. Now, why do you see Q2? Because new companies have entered in and they've taken the additional share. So on an individual basis, every firm is still at point
Q0.
Q0. But overall for the industry, the point has become Q0 and the price is still at P0. So this is very interesting. Positive economic profits will cause the new firm to enter the market and increase the total industry supply to S1, and the market price will decline to P0, where the industry now produces Q2. The industry, okay? But with an increased number of firms, each firm produces the output at original quantity of Q0. Got it? And now no one enjoys economic profit because price is again at the point where it is at ATC. Okay, so at the bottom of the ATC, so this is what happens, that initially the firms will find an increase in price and quantity, but later on, you know what will happen, that as the new firms enter, what will happen? The overall industry will produce more quantity, the price will still remain the same, and each firm's share will still remain the same. So whenever there is a permanent change in demand, let's say permanent increase in demand in perfect competition, still the price always remains the same.
Same.
Okay.
Yes.
So there is economic profit only for a short window. Clear?
Yes.
Okay. Now, the second type of market which we are focusing is on monopolistic competition. Now, before I jump to monopolistic competition, see how different it is slightly. Again, there are also many firms in the monopolistic competition, right? But there is a slight difference between the two products. There is a slight difference, and that difference is what they highly advertise. So they do a lot of marketing activity to showcase that, my product is slightly different than others. For example, there are so many companies selling toothpaste. Okay. Well, they all do the same job, right? Correct.
Yes.
But they try to showcase the feature that, my toothpaste is herbal. My toothpaste has a more refreshing, a smell and all, whatever. They basically keep on focusing on some unique feature which the other toothpastes don't have. So the nature of product is that they are not completely same. There is slightly difference, and that differentiation is what they will try to focus more and more. Okay. So the product may be similar. So for example, milk, I cannot say milk is different. This is a different milk. This is different. It's very difficult to differentiate between a milk or a wheat, rice. It's unless and until it's a basmati rice. Otherwise, it's very difficult to differentiate between two similar products, right? We don't apply too much of brains. We can take a brand, but the output is the same. The product is mostly the same. Now, of course, in these days, you have brands involved in everything. So they try to they try to make it as differentiating as possible. But in a monopolistic competition, the difference is slightly visible and they try to bet on that. But still, it's highly competitive.
Auto sector.
Yeah, sorry.
Auto sector will be in the monopolistic competition.
Ideally auto sector, yes, should be in the monopolistic competition, but in many countries there are not too many people selling the car. For example, mostly the global world is actually between the top 10 sellers in the car business. So most of the market is concentrated, which we will see whether it's a concentrated market or not in the last section. So the car industry, yes, you can say they slightly deviate from the feature, but car industries, as per me, they are today somewhere between monopolistic and oligopoly, because we have 4 or 5 big car sellers, right? And so it's a market which is very narrow as such. Yes, you can rightly say that they are more of a monopolistic. They sell the same car, but with slightly additional feature here and there. Perfect. Now, in a monopolistic competition, what will happen? One important thing that happens, that the demand curve is not highly elastic, not perfectly elastic. It is downward sloping. So it is elastic, but not perfectly elastic. Okay. So the demand curve, whenever it is not perfectly elastic, the demand curve is downward sloping. Correct. So except perfect competition, all the other structures have downward sloping demand curve. Clear?
Yes.
So as I said, your price is not the only factor that they bet on. They also bet on some feature to market their product, that how unique they are. Again, here the pricing power with the companies is very less because it is highly competitive. And the example I've given. Okay. So let's go to monopolistic competition. Here in monopolistic competition, we've discussed a lot of things, so I'm not going down here. Again, the examples apart from what we discussed can be restaurants, clothing, TV programs, etc. So they just try to come up with some unique features, but they are all serving the same product or giving the same service. Okay. Now, what happens in the short run and the long run? So we are going to see what happens in the short run and long run, the monopolistic competition. In the short run, the firms in monopolistic competition again maximize profit where MR equals to MC.
MC.
So wherever the MR equals to MC, this is the point where we will be selling. Okay, no, sorry. If you see here, the demand curve is downward sloping, and here the demand is not equals to marginal revenue. The price marginal revenue is different here. Okay. Now, but we will produce to the point where MR equals to MC. So at this point will be the situation. This is the quantity we'll be selling, and based on the demand, the price will be decided. Now, at this price, what do you observe at this price? The price is above ATC or below ATC?
Above.
Above ATC. So we are making economic profits, isn't it?
Yes.
So what is the situation here? Okay. Here the firms earn positive economic profit because the price exceeds ATC, but due to low barriers, new firms will enter, and then your economic profit will be zero. So in the short run, yes, under perfect competition, in the monopolistic competition also, you are able to sell at a price above ATC and make profits. But then as a new firm enters, what do you notice? Again, if you notice, MR equals to MC is the point, but the price has now moved to ATC, correct? Got it?
Yes.
The price has moved downside. So what happened here? The entry of the new firm shifts the demand curve down to the point where price equals to ATC, such that your economic profit is zero.
Zero.
No longer incentive for the firm to enter into the market, and the existing firms can decide whether to continue or quit. The firm here continue to produce at the quantity where MR equals to MC, but no longer earns positive economic profit. So again, like perfect competition, here in the short run, economic profits are possible, but in the long run, the everyone will have economic profit equal to zero because of low barriers to entry. Clear?
Yes.
So monopolistic competition is relatively easier. Now, what's the difference between both? What is the major difference between both? If you notice, in the perfect competition, the price was equal to MC equals to MR, right? But in monopolistic competition, the price was slightly above the marginal cost.
Marginal cost.
So that was the first visible observation. In perfect competition, there's no product differentiation, but in monopoly, there is a product differentiation, and therefore companies are able to slightly charge higher. That's the reason why you see price above the marginal cost, right? Why are they slightly charging higher? Because they say that, oh, our restaurant is something unique, our car is something unique, or our toothpaste is something unique. So they do try to charge a premium or some extra price for some that product differentiation. Okay. Price is slightly higher as compared to perfect competition. ATC is at minimum under perfect competition. So under perfect competition, the point where we get the quantity is where the point where the ATC is minimum, but that's not the case with monopolistic competition. Because why? Because of what happens here. They have told us something, because of excess capacity. Why excess capacity? See, in perfect competition, all the excess demand that has come, everyone will produce that demand, right? But that's not the case in monopolistic or any other point. For example, now when we will see monopoly also, not only monopolistic competition, but monopoly also, the companies don't produce everything. They don't completely meet the demand. So the ATC is not minimum. There is some excess capacity. Firms are not producing maximum. Otherwise, the prices will go down. So except perfect competition, under no other market structures, the companies produce the maximum output. Otherwise, what will happen? The price will go down. In perfect competition, they don't have a choice because there are no barriers to entry and it's very competitive. So the others will jump in and take away that excess capacity. So there is no excess capacity in perfect competition, but there is some in all the other structures. Now, what will the monopolistic
so the monopolistic competition will work under capacity?
Every structure, not only monopolistic, but later on monopoly and oligopoly also. They all do not, they all have some excess capacity. They have some spare capacity. Because it does not make sense. Because if you sell more, the prices will go down. So they never completely fill up the capacity except for perfect competition. Now, this is something worrying, right?
Yes.
So this becomes a problem when there is a monopoly, that the monopoly is the decider in how much should I produce and sell. The monopolist will never want to sell everything. Correct. That's where we will now discuss why governments intervene. Why do the governments have regulation? Why do they come up with quotas, tariffs, or subsidies, and all those things? Right? We will discuss that also when we go to monopoly. Okay, so this issue that you have raised, that's a concern for the government also, and they do some action. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Now, as I said, under monopolistic competition, you have to focus on, if you want to make price greater than the ATC, you have to focus on the point that why is my product different, and that you have to showcase it to your customers. That is possible through advertising, product innovation or branding. Advertising basically informs the consumers about the key features of the product which the others do not have. Well, they can increase the ATC curve. If you spend more and more on advertising, your total cost curve will increase, right?
Yes.
But now what happens? For example, let's say any FMCG brand that you know, which is being promoted by a celebrity. Can you tell me any FMCG brand or any brand for that matter? For example,
Like
Shah Rukh Khan is
any
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
like royal basmati rice, for example.
Correct. Now, okay, rice.
I think Amitabh
Yeah,
Bachchan, I think he
Royal,
promotes that.
yeah, correct. Now, in the same way, let's say, we are a country which has a religion called cricket. So let's say a cricket captain, promotes a toothpaste, a particular brand of toothpaste or a particular perfume, right? So what happens due to the celebrity endorsements? The cost increases. The average total cost increases. Correct. Now, a lot of times I used to wonder that why are they paying millions of dollars to celebrity to endorse a brand? Because the revenue that they do is in billions of dollars. Okay. So for example, a company like Unilever, when it sells yearly, $5 to $10 billion of goods, and against that revenue, if it's hardly 1% of that revenue which they could spend on marketing or branding, then it's not a big cost for them. That's the reason why most of the FMCG brands, they afford easily the celebrities. Got my point? So their total cost, sorry,
Nothing, sorry.
no problem. So their total cost increases, but since that total cost is fixed, the more and more unit you sell, that total cost per unit will become less. So the average total cost will reduce. Okay. So this average total cost will keep on coming down when you sell more and more output, when your output is high. Clear? So by doing the advertisement cost, your total cost will increase, but your average total cost will reduce substantially when you sell more and more quantity. That's why advertising is affordable in such brands, in FMCG and all such companies. Correct?
Yes.
But apart from advertisement, you have to continuously work on some innovation in your product. So this is an important activity which will result in less elastic demand curve. So then even if you increase the price, the quantity would not fall as much as it would have fallen. Product innovation increases firms' costs, and that therefore the firms must rethink whether that extra cost will generate any marginal revenue and profits or not. If not, then that innovation does not make sense. Okay, for example, I'll just tell you that I'm also in the education sector, and there are so many people in the education sector. Now, if I want to come up with some very digital unique product with animations and all, I always feel that extra cost that I'm going to put, which I'm going to showcase that this is my unique feature which no one other has, will I generate that extra revenue? If not, then that innovation can be not fruitful. I've seen many companies being very innovative, but we have a term which we say, right, that they were innovative but before time. They started all this before time. So the problem is not before time. The problem is that they do not do the cost benefit analysis. That innovation is good, but innovation at right time is also essential, that you should be able to monetize on it. If not, then the costs are so high that you may shut down.
Yes.
Okay. So I'll tell you one thing, that right now is the phase of online education, correct? Now there was a coaching class in India called Sukh Sagar. They started this recording 25 years back. recording the lectures and all. Can you believe that? 25 years back, they used to do this.
Wow.
There were also a coaching class called Ideal. They used to do all this activity long back. When even I did not join the industry, there were satellite lectures already going on. And people were making huge money also initially. Satellite lectures where you used to go. So in 2012, 2011, for the first time, I saw satellite lectures in India, where people used to sit in a classroom where there was a screen and they used to attend lectures. I had also attended one of those lectures in 2011, now 10 years back. Now, 10 years back, I saw the class full of such people. So I used to wonder that how can someone study from such things? Now, I'm also doing the same thing. Of course, it's a live, that's why it's more effective at times. But even if pre-recorded, people are now easily doing that. But many of those companies which started those satellite lectures, they came up with huge infra and all. They did make money, but then eventually they got shut down because they did not get so much of a revenue at that time, which they were expecting with the technological input that they did. Okay, so I believe that product innovation should be always weighed with how much additional leverage, how much additional revenue you will get compared to the cost. Okay, so that's very important. Finally, brand names matter a lot. Brand name is associated with product result in higher sales. Firms spend a high portion of their advertising in building brand image. Now, branding and marketing are two different things. Marketing is directly selling your product. Branding is selling your reputation. Now, disclosing your reputation or improving your reputation. Basically, if you've noticed, what is the India's biggest company, Reliance Industries, now into? Are they
Sorry.
only Reliance Industries? Are they only selling oil now?
No.
No, they are into two other main
Geo.
things. Those two businesses are retail and telecom.
Telecom.
Okay, I'll just tell you a story that, tell me one thing, when you want to sell oil, do you require marketing?
No.
When you sell crude, because you sell
No.
crude and crude related products to the industry, do you require marketing?
No.
No, right? But when they plan to enter into telecom and retail, these are the businesses where individuals are involved, right? So you have to do the marketing, isn't it?
Yes.
This is the first time, this is my observation, okay, I can be wrong, and nothing personal against anyone. This is the time that they realize in 2007 and 10 around that their oil sector is very vulnerable. It's not doing that great business. So they may already have the plan, but they started coming out exclusively into retail and telecom. But when you come into retail and telecom, when you are going to sell your product to the mass consumers of India, you need to reach out to them. You need to build a brand. And that's where they started. So what is the best way to build brand in India? Connect the celebrities. And who are the celebrities? They are the ones who are going to carry your brand, right?
Yes.
So we in India have celebrities from Bollywood and cricket. So the Ambani family ensured that they then started hosting Ganpati, marriage, small parties at their home, and started inviting everyone, and now having the media fancy, which, I mean, had you heard ever something like this in their family before 2010? And even if it was there, was it so much of a media glare?
No.
No. They all started exclusively socializing, coming up with the launches of hospital and social welfare schemes after 2010. Before 2010, they must be doing it, but they were not promoting it. But after 2010, they started promoting so much, and they started inviting celebrities at their home regularly. That's where they get good footage that they are a very good family, which they are. And now, then, what is the other part? What is India fancy about? Cricket. So for them, investing in a cricket team was not a financial bet, but it was like having a huge brand of all the cricketers at one place. Correct. So I feel that these two activities that they did, being very social with the Bollywood, the other celebrities, and cricket, they all were, I feel, I can be wrong, but they all were a strategy to now reach out to each and every consumer in India. And now everyone looks at Ambani family as an ideal family with a typical Indian family, husband, wife, kids, so rich, but still following Indian culture and all. So, you know what, now these days, people relate with the Ambani families as, a symbol of Indian culture and wealth. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
That's the branding. Okay. So now people associate with so now there are many people who may not like Ambani because they feel it's a very capitalist and they're associated with the political parties and all, but they've always been blamed for being associated with the top political parties in India. They were blamed with Indira Gandhi, Rajiv Gandhi, everyone, including the current government. So there's nothing new for them, but now they are everyone in India knows everything about their family. Are you getting my point? That where do they stay,
What's happening in their
what's happening in
current
life, what do they see, how do they look, everything is visible. I think all this is a part of the branding, that they want to showcase that we are a typical Indian family with wealth. That's why our products can be easily, and that's what happens also. Of course, this all is a separate thing, and the quality of the product that they come up with, the innovation that they come up with, I think the digital surge that India has seen is to a large extent, that credit goes to the Ambani family, like the Reliance Industries. Because otherwise, you just imagine 10 years back, the prices of, calling and messaging. We used to rethink about calling someone and messaging. Now people don't think at all. And the speed that we are getting, right? Otherwise, we were still in the 2G. So a lot of new entrepreneurs have come in. Many like me are able to uninterruptedly take these lectures for 5 hours. That's only possible because of the Geo network. Just imagine the bandwidth, right? I could have never imagined having a 5 to 10 hours continuous live session. That was not possible, honestly. I have stayed in UAE. I can tell you that there were always some interruption in my network for if I had a lecture for 3 or 4 hours. But I have not faced that situation in my office here because of the superb network. So I think we are getting quality at a very cheap rate. Okay. What is the cost of 4G network, uninterrupted 4G network that I have in my office right now? It's what? 900 rupees, which is in US dollar terms, it's what? It's hardly what, $12?
$20, yes.
$13 a month for uninterrupted, unlimited, high-speed internet. That's very cheaper when you compare to other countries. So I feel so that's what they're doing, branding and all, and I feel that's good with what has happened with Reliance. So branding is building up an image, like so I may be wrong, but many times I feel the philanthropy that these guys do, even that is a part of their brand. Okay. So all that philanthropy stuff and that they do, I'm not denying that, they're not giving away the wealth. They are giving away the wealth. But I think that's all part and parcel of the bigger business that they want to create, or bigger brand they want to create, or maybe they just want to join the politics, or they want to influence the politics. So that is also possible. Now we come to a very unique market, that is oligopoly. Oligopoly is a situation where there are not too many sellers. There are very few sellers and there are higher barriers to entry. Why? Because the costs are huge. I will again and again give an example in this, but I will start with the telecom sector. For example, in telecom sector, do you have too many players? Very few players.
No, very few players.
The other key difference is that the firms are interdependent, which means every firm is watching the other firm as to what they are doing, right? So a price change by one of the firm can be expected to be met by the competitor also. So they are following the competitors closely. So the action of one firm will directly affect the action of another firm. So I've mentioned, along with telecom, I've mentioned here airlines, defense contractors, soft drinks, and telecom. Now in airlines, you have Boeing and Airbus, on the suppliers of aircraft. Basically, airlines also, in a particular country, you have 3 or 4 large players, and there's a very fierce competition, but they all follow each other, right? Soft drinks, you have 1 or 2 or 3 brands, and they try to keep the prices close to each other, correct? But within the oligopoly, there are 4 models that we are going to discuss. One is the kinked, then cornet, Nash equilibrium, very important, and Stackelberg or dominant firm model. So the 4 models will define us the 4 different types of oligopoly. But first of all, what is the uniqueness about the oligopoly market? The uniqueness about the oligopoly market is this. Very few firms, almost identical. They almost sell the similar products, but there is a differentiation sometimes, right? But that differentiation is marketed. For example, if I buy internet from Airtel or Jio, I'm using the internet only, but the marketing that they do is many times very creative. Barriers to entry are very high because you starting up an oil company or a telecom company or even a car company is not that easy. Got it? Not everyone can just open their laptop and start a company. Demand curves are downward sloping, which we will see now. Why downward sloping? When they are downward sloping, that means they are elastic or less elastic. They are elastic, but not as highly elastic as perfect competition or monopolistic. Nature of competition again is based on price and marketing. Pricing power, yes, oligopoly and later on monopoly, they do have pricing power. Not complete, but oligopoly, like monopoly, but oligopoly does have significant pricing power. And companies, when they have pricing power, they will be able to make abnormal profits. Whereas in the first 2 cases, abnormal profit was not possible. Correct?
Yes.
So now within the oligopoly, we will move towards the 4 different types of model. And the first model is kinked demand curve. Now, this is very complicated model in terms of literally understanding it, but logically understanding it's very easy. Before I discuss everything about the model, let me discuss that there are some problems with the model also. There are various shortcomings that it is a more of an incomplete model. So whenever I will now start the explanation, try to focus on the broader point and not on the technical points, because there are a lot of shortcomings also. Now, what is a broader points? Just see the diagram here. There is a point after which there is a kink slightly bend. That is this point PK, right? Now, before that, the demand is highly elastic, which means
change in the demand is more.
So if I raise the price above PK, let's say I am the telecom company, right? And there are 3 and 4 other players also. So let's say I raise the price from PK, I increase it to other point. What's happening is, if I increase the price, the quantity demanded falls huge. Why? Because it is more elastic.
More elastic.
But when I reduce the price, the quantity demanded does not increase enough because it is less elastic. Are you getting it?
Yes.
Why so? Understand one thing. In oligopoly, there is a fear. What is the fear? That when I will increase the price, others are smart. They will not increase the price. So I will lose more quantity. They will not. Correct? Got this point?
Yes.
But when I will reduce the price, others will also follow and they will also start reducing the price. So I will not get enough benefit of it. Correct? So there is the point where it matches. That is that point PK. So how much should I produce? You should produce till PK, because if you should produce till the point where price is equal to PK. If you keep the prices below that, right, you will not get enough benefit because it becomes less elastic. If you raise the price above that, you will lose a lot of sales, right? So very important, an increase in the firm's product price will not be followed by its competitors. So when I increase the product price, my competitors will not follow me, but a decrease in price will be immediately followed. Each firm believes that it faces downward sloping demand curve. That demand curve is more elastic above a price. It is downward sloping, but above a price, it is highly elastic. And below price, it is less elastic. The king price is at PK, where a firm produces quantity QK. A firm believes that if it raises prices above PK, competitors will remain at PK only, and they will get all the share and I will lose the market share. Correct? Above PK, the demand curve is said to be relatively elastic, where a small increase in price will lead to a huge fall in demand. On the other hand, if the firm decreases the price below PK, other firms will match the price cut and the firm will experience relatively only small increase in the quantity. Therefore, QK is a profit maximizing output. Got it?
Yes.
Right. So again, I'll just repeat quickly. Price, if I keep the price above PK, not everyone will follow me and my market share will go to others who are still selling at PK. If I keep the price below PK, since it's less elastic, I will not get enough benefit because others will also reduce.
Will follow.
So the demand curve is not exactly downward sloping, but there is a bend here. That's a kink. So that's why it's called kinked demand curve. Got it? Now you notice here there are multiple marginal cost structures. Correct? Here you see MC1, MC2, MC3. Correct? So there are wide variety of cost structures consistent with the prevailing price. If a firm has relatively low marginal cost, that is MC1, the lowest, the profit maximizing rule where MR equals to MC still holds the oligopoly firm. If the marginal cost rises to MC2 and MC3 before the firm's profitability is challenged. So what happens here, if you notice, the marginal cost, there are multiple marginal costs. And why multiple marginal costs? What is marginal cost, by the way? Additional cost for selling every unit of product.
Additional unit.
Right? Now you see that there is in oligopoly firm, there is not one but multiple marginal costs. Why is there a wide variety? So if a marginal cost curve passes through the gap in MR, the most profitable price and the output combination remains unchanged. Now that is all okay. Now this is possible under oligopoly because of what reason? Can you just guess why is there multiple marginal cost instead of one marginal cost? Any idea?
Because the firms will have a different cost structure.
Right. Every firm, so there are few firms, right?
Yeah,
every
few
firm
firms
have a different cost structure. So it's not that the entire industry will have same marginal cost structure. They will have various because there are different firms. They will all have multiple marginal cost structures, and that's why the reaction, the elasticity is very different for price beyond PK and below PK, right? Even if you see the marginal revenue curve is slightly unsettled here. It's not as easy as it looks. If you see the marginal revenue curve, initially it's different and then it's completely different. Why is there this gap? The gap is because the reaction is very different before and below the price. So there is a gap in the associated marginal revenue curve. Do you notice? This is very important. Now, they will not ask you why this gap is, but you should realize that there is a gap in the marginal. It's not a straight line. There is a gap. Correct? Year and year. Okay. And the marginal cost curves may pass through this gap. Ideally, we produce till the point where MR equals to MC, right? Correct?
Yes.
But here, if you notice that there is a gap in the MR curve and their marginal cost curves may pass between them also. For any firm with a marginal cost curve passing through this gap, the price at which the kink is located is the firm's profit maximizing price. So what are they trying to say? The price which is located near the kink between this point, any point can be the profit maximizing point. Now, what should be that price? What should be that price? Well, that's the problem. The shortcomings of this model is that it is not defined. It is incomplete. Why is it incomplete? Because what determines the market price, where exactly that price is out of the scope of the model. Are you getting it? So the problem
like
with
the price, at which the firm should sell.
That profit maximizing price is
Okay.
what we know the kink.
Mm-hmm.
And we ideally, the profit maximizing point is where MC equals to MR, right?
MR, yes.
But here, if you notice that there is a gap in that MR also. So the point is somewhere between. We don't know where exactly that point is. And the model also does not explain that. Okay. So it does explain, it is helpful. It is still helpful. Why? Because it explains why stable prices have been observed in oligopoly market. Why in oligopoly market, the prices are always around one particular point. In oligopoly market, the prices don't change enough. For example, if you see the cold drink prices, have you seen a substantial change in cold drink prices? They sell at the same price for a long period. Got it? So the price remains constant for a very long period. That's visible. So it's a useful tool for that, but it is incomplete as it does not determine the original prevailing price. So it does not tell us, or there is no model to define what is that profit maximizing output. What is that price at which the profit is maximum. But we can gauge that, okay, this is the price that they are selling. So the price should be somewhere here. So the problem is that you may not exactly get the point where MC equals to MR. Correct? So you will not get that profit maximizing point. Clear?
Yes.
That's not possible in this case because of that abrupt marginal revenue structure that you see, because of the elasticity, huge change in elasticity. Okay. So what is that one thing that you get from the kinked demand curve? That there is a kink. So the demand curve is not downward sloping. There is a kink. Beyond that price, it's highly elastic. Below that price, it is less elastic.
Less elastic.
Correct.
Yes.
This exclusively happens, as I said, in oligopoly, but the market is very tight. So as I said, in the cold drink business, right, in the soft drink business, you see the Pepsi and Coca-Cola, they keep the prices very close to each other.
Stable.
In fact, most of them, they both have the same prices only, right? I have not seen too much of a difference between a Coke and a Pepsi. They almost have the same price. Correct? Because if one reduces the price, the other will immediately reduce the price. Got it?
Are they mutually, practically, are they mutually deciding on the price?
So
if they have to increase.
So I will come on that point when we see Nash equilibrium. Whether they are doing it and do what makes sense. Should they do or not? So actually, the Pepsi and Coke case is more like a duopoly. It's not an oligopoly only. Telecom business, I can say, is more of an oligopoly. But within that oligopoly, duopoly, corner duopoly, the second model that we are seeing is the point where we have only two big players. Pepsi and Coke, Visa and MasterCard, Boeing and Airbus. Okay.
Okay.
So only two players. That's called a duopoly. Now, what is the advantage of this? You know what? One company knows how much it sells and how much is the industry demand. So let's say the industry demand or sales is 100, and I am able to, sell 40 or 60. Then I can easily find what the other company is doing, right? So the biggest advantage here is that you can know what your competitor is producing or selling. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So in a cornet, which was by the French economist, cornet, each firm determines profit maximizing production level by assuming the other firm's output will not change. Why? Because there are only two competition, right? Both firms have the same and constant marginal cost of production. Each knows the quantity supplied by other firm. Why? They can easily predict it. By knowing the quantity supplied of the other firm, the firm can subtract this quantity from the market demand and arrive at their own demand curve. Correct? So for me to derive what is my demand curve is very easy, because I have to take the industry and subtract the competitors or mine. The remaining, if I subtract the competitors, the remaining is mine. A long equilibrium curve is reached when both the firms select the same quantity and there is no scope for economic profit by changing the quantity. The resultant price, what happens due to this? The resultant price is less than the profit maximizing price of the monopolist. So in a current duopoly, your price is not exactly like monopoly. In monopoly, you can charge maximum price. But in perfect competition, you have no control. Correct? Your price, you are a price taker. So duopoly will charge a price which is not as strong as the monopoly, but not as weak as the perfect competition. So the resultant price is less than that of a monopoly, but more than that of a perfect competition. Clear? So it's actually the right between, extreme point, perfect competition and monopoly. As the number of firms increases, so from duopoly down, if it becomes more, the market equilibrium price will fall, marginal cost towards marginal cost, limiting the firm from further entry. So basically, in duopoly, what will happen? New brands will find it very difficult to enter the market. Why? Why? Yes. Why will it be so difficult for the new firms to enter the market? Any idea?
Because they have the control on the price.
Correct. And if they reduce the price, they can afford it for a while, but the new players will completely get wiped off. They will not be able to afford it, because the current, let's say if I come up with my own brand of cold drink, unless and until it is very unique, right, it is going to be very difficult for me to compete with the existing players in terms of price. I will never be able to make economic profits. So it's more of like a cartel, which you are trying to tell me, right? So duopoly is very difficult to break, as what I believe. But the competition is so fierce that they also find it very difficult. And then there are anti-competition laws also, which we will see now. So cornet duopoly model. In a cornet duopoly model, there are only two players. Correct?
Yes.
Now the third type of oligopoly section that we are going to understand is Nash equilibrium. Nash, by Professor John Nash, a very famous economist. Okay. Now, Nash equilibrium is more like a game. As per the Nash equilibrium, it's a theory, by the way. It's a theory where it mentions that, let's say there are, in the oligopoly market, let's say there are two players, or there can be many, but let's focus on two players. Let's say Boeing and Airbus, or Visa, MasterCard, right? Or Pepsi, Coca-Cola. They say that none of the oligopolies can increase profits by unilaterally changing the price strategy. So let's say I am changing the price, the other will also immediately follow me. If I reduce, they all will also reduce. Normally, this is what will happen. So if we both change the price, right? If we both reduce the price, none of us will maximize the profit. Nash equilibrium considers interdependent action by oligopoly firms. So as I said here, the actions are completely dependent on what your competitor is doing. But they are saying no collusion is expected. Now, what is this? No collusion means there is a possibility of both doing something together. Okay. Each firm tries to do the best considering the action of their rivals, leading to equilibrium. Now, what does this mean? I will explain you with the example. First, what Nash explained this through this example of prisoner's dilemma. And then that prisoner's dilemma we will use in the business. So there are two things. Honoring means, in the case of prisoner, honoring and cheating. We are going to discuss two scenarios. Honoring means that you are charging a higher price. Like you and me, we both are the, let's say we both are the sellers. Okay. You and me, we both agree that we will raise the price. You are an oil company and I am an oil company. Okay. You are selling the oil in the world. I'm selling the oil in the world. We both are only selling the oil in the world. Clear?
Yes.
So we are the two biggest oil suppliers. Now we both decide, let's raise the price. So we both agree on it, right? But what if you are not actually raising the price? You are cheating on me. You are lowering your price. So more of the oil sales is going in your hand.
Yes.
Correct. So honoring means we both accept the terms. We both raise the price so that we can control and we can make more profits. But then you are actually not increasing the price, but lowering the price. So more people are buying from you, which I am not able to know. That's cheating. So what Nash explained, see this. There are two prisoners, prisoner A and prisoner B. Now they both have committed some serious crime. And the process, they both have committed the crime together. Okay. Let's assume that they've done some big crime like a bank robbery or something like that. Now they both are made to sit for confession individually, one by one. Now what happens if they both keep silent, if they both don't reveal anything about each other, then what happens? A gets only 6 months and B gets only 6 months in jail. Correct. But then they both of them are given an offer. What is the offer? That confess. So if one of the prisoners confess, that prisoner is set free, but the other gets 10 years jail. Are you getting it? So what would you do? Let's say you and me, we both are the prisoners. We both have committed crime. We are being told by the police that if you confess, I will set you free and put others for 10 years in jail. Will you confess or not? If you don't confess, you get 6 months jail.
Yes.
What? Yes. You will?
I will confess.
Okay. And why will you confess? Because you want to get free?
Get free. Yes.
No, because you're worried. What if the other guy confesses? Are you getting my point?
Yes.
It's not only the freedom. You are worried that what if the other guy confesses? Because if I don't confess, and if she or he confesses, they can get free and I'll be put 10 years behind the bars, right? So there is that fear that if I don't cheat, what if he or she cheats? Got it? So there is a high chance that if either of them confesses, one can get 10 years and the other can get free. So what happens is what Nash is saying. What is the best situation here? What is the best situation, by the way? Tell me.
That remains silent.
That they both remain
Both
silent. That's the
silent.
best situation, right?
Yes.
Which now think it from the business point of view. The business point of view is that they both honor the commitment. See this. If we both honor the commitment, we will make, you will also make 300, I will also make 300. Correct?
Yes.
But if one of us cheats, the one who cheats gets free and the other gets penalized. So here also, if firm B cheats, it gets 400, but firm A only gets 100. Correct? So what is Nash saying me? Nash is saying me that the best situation is both remain silent or both honor the commitment. But what actually happens is that both will confess, which means both will cheat. Are you getting my point? This is the Nash equilibrium. What is the Nash equilibrium? Now connect that with the business also. Okay. The Nash equilibrium is for both prisoners to confess. That means cheat. And if that happens, both will get a sentence of 2 years. Is this the best outcome? No. The best outcome is to remain silent, right? However, this is not a Nash equilibrium, since each prisoner can improve their situation by confessing. Are you getting my point? Neither of these outcomes in the Nash equilibrium, because the silent prisoner in both cases can improve their situation by confessing rather than remaining silent. So confessing or cheating is what the Nash equilibrium is. confesses the Nash equilibrium since neither prisoner can unilaterally reduce his sentence by changing to silence. So I cannot assume that the other will also be silent and I can take the risk. I know that, when it comes to that profit, everyone is selfish. So they will cheat on me, and then even I'm ready to cheat on. So this is what happened. So Nash explained this concept with the prisoner's dilemma. Now think of the duopoly. There are only two firms, Visa and MasterCard, or Pepsi and Coca-Cola. Now let's say we both decide that we will not cheat. We will form a cartel. Okay. Now we both will decided to sell at a fixed price. But then what happens? You are also worried that what if the other sells at a low price, then the entire sales will go there. So both will start cheating. Nash equilibrium is that firm A and B charge the lower price, and at this point where neither firm can change its action to improve profit. So what Nash tells that, even if the greatest value is that both honor the commitment, right? That's the best situation. But they both are motivated to increase their value from 300 to 400. So they both want more money. And for that, what they do, they both start cheating on it. Correct? This is very visible in the global world. In fact, recently, there was a situation where I will explain you what is a collusive agreement. We discussed here at the start that there is no collusion expected, right? Correct? But there does happen collusion. So in Nash equilibrium, what happens? There is a situation where both the parties will cheat on. That's the situation which is called Nash equilibrium. So to avoid this, there are collusion agreements. What is a collusion agreement? Which is what we call as cartel. Cartel. OPEC is the Organization for Petroleum Exporting Countries. It's the biggest cartel in the world. It's the biggest agreement in the world of how much oil will be produced and sold. Correct?
Yes.
So as per the agreement, everyone should stop production when the prices are low or reduce the production. Most of these decisions are decided by Saudi Arabia, and the other partners follow. Okay. UAE and Saudi have very close economic, cultural, political relations. But recently, they both are so close friends, but they both are also competitors in the international market for oil, right? Correct. So there was a big rift between both of them for producing oil. And the two biggest oil partners were actually, competing each other. I would not say that they were fighting, but indirectly they were accusing each other of cheating. So in fact, Saudi Arabia had, warned other countries not to cheat. So the Gulf allies were at loggerheads with each other that, during this pandemic, everyone is so desperate to sell more and get more revenue because they don't have enough choices. So there was a spat between Abu Dhabi and, Riyadh in terms of why are you breaking the agreement? Are you getting me? So then basically Saudi Arabia also issued warnings. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
The Saudi, I've mentioned here. Yeah, see. The Saudi oil minister admonishes OPEC plus quota cheaters. So the Saudi minister actually warned all his allies that you all are cheating on the quota. So the quota was decided how much everyone will produce and sell. But as I said, what happens? The Nash equilibrium work is everyone cheats because everyone wants to sell more and make more money. So they all start reducing the price. You're getting my point? So this is very much visible in the oil and gas sector. Correct? So Saudi Arabia actually warned everyone. And its closest partner was also, caught cheating in the oil sales and all. Of course, then the issue was resolved, but the OPEC cartel regularly comes up with a collusion agreement, but the evidence is common that the cartel members regularly cheat on their agreements to share the optimum output of oil. Getting this? So I've been reading this in the CFA book since long. And even in the pandemic time or after that, these are latest news, which I showed you. So it's still evident. That Nash equilibrium is still evident. Got it?
Yes.
Now, when can you expect that the agreement will stay? The agreement will stay. The agreement will be stiff. So in general, collusion agreements to increase price in an oligopoly market will be more successful if there are very few firms, products are similar, cost structures are similar, purchases are relatively small and frequent. Small and frequent. Retaliation by other firms are more certain and severe. If there are strict penalties, then it is very difficult to break the agreement. And all the revenue, or basically the demand, is from the cartel itself. The cartel controls big share. So there is less actual or potential competition for firms outside the cartel. The OPEC cartel was very strong in the 70s and 80s because at that time, most of the oil production came from the Gulf, the Middle East, right? Now, oil also comes from shale gas, and there are other renewable sources also for fuel, right? And
Yes.
the world's biggest importer at one time has now become the world's biggest exporter of oil. I'm talking about US, Europe, Canada, Scotland, Norway. These countries have been big sellers of crude in the world. Okay. So now OPEC is powerful, but not as powerful as it was some 40, 50 years back. Got it? Clear?
Yes.
So 3 models we've learned till now, 3 sections of oligopoly we understood: kinked, cornet duopoly, and Nash equilibrium.
Nash.
Now, just to tell you one thing, Nash equilibrium was by Professor John Nash. He was so intelligent, so mathematically intelligent that, just assume that a wall full of alphanumeric codes was generated during the Cold War by the Russians, the Soviets. So they used to transmit some important messages to their Russian counterparts to their Soviet counterparts in alphanumeric codes. Professor John Nash was such a great mathematician that he was the one who used to crack those codes. And those codes were not in the piece of paper. As I said, the entire wall used to get filled up with that, codes, the secret codes. And he used to crack those by applying permutation and combinations. Okay. That intelligent Professor John Nash was. And what happened? He was so intelligent that he was always in the fear that the Russians are coming to kill him. Got it? And then there was one of his friend and a small girl who was always with him throughout his life for discussion and everything. And then later on, it was revealed that that friend and that girl was his imagination, not real. Are you getting my point?
Oh, okay.
He was going through that medical thing, some illness, which was very unique because of his extreme devotion to the mathematics. So he used to always fear that the Russians are coming to kill him. The Russians have tried attacking him. That was all his mental illusion. Are you getting me? But he helped US crack so many codes. This Professor John Nash and his contribution was recognized, and he was given Nobel Prize. And there's a very good movie based on this called Beautiful Mind by Russell Crowe. Have you heard about that?
Yes.
It is
it's a documentary kind of.
It's a movie properly based on his life, and he's received a lot of Oscar awards for that movie. So Beautiful Mind is a movie based on Professor John Nash. Okay, that's what this Nash equilibrium is. So if you ever get a chance, watch that movie. Amazing movie, and very well acted by Russell Crowe, because of which he got his Oscar award. So if you get time, do watch that movie, Beautiful Mind. That's completely based on John Nash. By the way, I went to the Taj Hotel in Mumbai for my IPO in 2011, and at the entrance of Taj, I saw this, pictures of Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Michael Jackson, all the big celebrities, Nelson Mandela, those who have visited in the Taj Hotel, right? And there was one picture of John Nash also. So that famous he was, and he had come to India in the Taj Hotel. So that was John Nash. Okay. Eventually,
Yes.
I think he had Alzheimer's also, and those illness of forgetting things and many such issues, but that was his contribution. So 3 models we've learned till now. The 4th model is a very small concept, that is dominant firm, oligopoly, or Stackelberg model. Dominant firm oligopoly or Stackelberg is where, again, like oligopoly, there are few players, but one is the leader and others are follower. So unlike Cornet model, where decision making is assumed simultaneous, in the Stackelberg model, it is sequentially made. Means the leader will first take the step and then the weaker companies will follow. So the first mover advantage is with the leader, right? Again, the optimum output is where MC equals to MR. The price followers follow the leader's price. This is what happens in case of banks, like large bank in India, for example, SBI, they set the interest rate and then others follow. So when SBI reduces the interest rate, the other banks will also then reduce. Right? So, the large firm and the other firms are followers. That's what dominant firm oligopoly is. Correct? Clear?
Yes.
So that's what 3 types of market we've discussed till now. What were the 3 types of market we've discussed? Perfect competition, monopolistic, oligopoly. Now comes monopoly. Monopoly is where there is a single firm that is the only seller. There are no substitutes. There is very high entry barriers. The demand curve is downward sloping. So it is elastic, but not perfectly elastic, of course. The companies do require to do advertising. Now, this is something which we will understand. Why, if you are monopoly, still you want to do advertising? There is company has significant power, and therefore this company is called not a price taker, but a price maker. Got it? And they can easily maximize their profits. So your profits are very much
higher,
right? For example, power distribution, utility, and various examples I will show you. They are cases of complete monopoly. So here, let's understand the monopoly's price strategy. As I had said, monopolies face downward sloping demand curve. So profit maximization involves a trade-off between price and quantity sold. First of all, tell me, if you are a monopolist, do you want to charge maximum price or you want to have maximum profit?
Maximum profit.
So maximum price and maximum profit are 2 different things, okay? Monopolists always want to maximize profit. So they will keep on reducing the price to get maximum revenue or profits. Okay, that remember this. Assuming a single selling price, a monopoly firm must lower its price in order to sell greater quantity. Got it? So if you are the only seller, what is the best thing for you to maximize your output? Reduce the price. No, this is very unique, because even before reading all this thing, I used to believe that if I'm a monopoly, I can charge whatever price I want, right? No, if you want to maximize profit, not price, which is our goal, I want to maximize profit, your price should keep on reducing the price. Unlike perfect competition, a firm faces a downward sloping demand curve. What? So because you know what, you are a price setter, you are not a price taker. You will set the price. So you are actually price searching, hoping to find the price and output combination that will bring maximum profit to the firm. Okay. So what happens here? The monopolist always looks out for what is that price where I can get maximum profit. So there are 2 pricing strategies to maximize the profit. First of all, we will discuss what are those strategies. So to maximize profit, monopoly must expand output until MR equals to MC. But due to high entry barriers, others will not be able to enter. So monopoly will be able to make profits, and they will be able to make consistent profits. So long run positive economic profits can exist in monopoly. Clear? right? But as I said, my goal is not to charge highest possible price, but to have maximum profits. Clear? That's an important point. So I have to search for what should be that price. It's not that easy to understand that, oh, charge whatever price you want. No, that's not the case. So monopoly companies follow two pricing strategies: single price and price discrimination. Very important. Let's say I'm selling a vaccine right now for COVID. Okay. In a country like India, let's say I'm the only seller of vaccine. Can I sell the vaccine at different prices to everyone?
No.
No, right? Government will force me to sell the vaccine at the same price, correct? So whether it's vaccine or crude oil, in such a case, what happens? You cannot sell that at different prices many times. So when the price discrimination is not possible, monopolies will always charge a single price for all types of customer. But in a price discrimination, you can charge different price for the same product, correct? Based on some features which we will see. So if the monopoly customers cannot resell the product to each other, so if I sell you something and you cannot sell it to someone else, the monopoly can maximize the profit by charging different prices to different group of customers. Example, a movie or an airline ticket. In the same airline, if I want to go from Mumbai to New York, we all are going in the same flight, but I can charge a different price for, even in the economy class, I will charge different prices to different customers, right? Do you think that everyone in the same class is being charged the same price? If you fly with any airline, no. If you buy a ticket at last moment, they charge you higher price. If you buy a ticket a month or 2 months in advance, they charge you less price. So if you want a window seat, they will charge you a higher price. Basically, you know what? They will see their algorithm where they can maximize profits. So they will do price discrimination. Okay. Correct. So two strategies that monopolists follow. What? Single price and yes,
Product
price discrimination. Why are there pricing strategies in monopoly? Because as I said, monopoly is looking out for what should be the price. They are not sure what will be the price. They have to find out that price where the profit is maximum. Now in a single price strategy, you see where is MC and where is MR. If you see, the MR is downward sloping here, and the price that is charged by the monopoly is slightly higher than ATC. Why? Well, the monopoly can do that. They can charge a higher price, correct? So a very unique thing that you must notice, that firms do not charge the highest price since their focus is to maximize profit. At this point, price is greater than MR and ATC, isn't it? See, the MR is at this point, correct?
Yes.
And ATC is here and the price is charged here. So this is the economic profit which is sustainable in a monopoly. Why? Because other firms cannot easily enter. Clear? This is what when I'm charging a single price, correct? But when I do the price discrimination, any doubts till this point?
No.
Right. But when I do a price discrimination, the firms will charge different prices to different customers because the goal is to capture all the additional customer surplus, which means I want to sell each and everything which is possible. So because of this, an airlines at the last moment, if it feels that there are 5 or 10 seats remaining, it won't fly vacant. It will sell them at a throwaway price. Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So that is very much possible. Do you know many times the airlines also offer you upgrade and all those things if you regularly fly? So they come up with a lot of schemes, but to maximize, these days you will hardly find airlines going vacant unless and until, I mean, of course, exclude the pandemic situation. Otherwise, you'll hardly find airlines going vacant. So they apply a lot of different strategies. They sell it through their portal, through online, different pricing, cheaper pricing, higher pricing. They do it all mix up. You'll never find, you'll hardly find a guy or a girl who's sitting next to you having paid the same price as you for the airline.
Yes.
Right? That's what they do. They have an extreme price discrimination. Okay. But for the price discrimination to work, what should be the situation? Basic situation, like the demand should be downward sloping. Monopolists can identify two different set of customers. So you should be able to identify who are willing to pay different prices. And you should stop customers paying lower prices to resell the product customers paying higher prices. So it should not happen that you've charged me low price so I can sell this ticket to someone else. You cannot sell your airline ticket to someone else. That's not possible, right? So if all these conditions are met, monopolists can maximize the profit. But within the price discrimination also, there are levels: first degree, second degree, and third degree. First degree, each consumer is charged the price they are willing to pay. Okay. So whatever everyone is willing to pay is the price I will charge. But in the second degree, price vary across units, but not people. What does it mean? In the first degree, I will charge everyone the price that they are willing to pay. So I'll tell you an example. I was working in a hardware tools shop, where we used to buy in bulk the nuts and bolts. We used to buy in bulk, and we used to sell them in pieces. So let's say we used to buy, hundreds of kgs of nut and bolt. So the cost per nut and bolt was hardly, it was 0.001, you can say, cents, 0.1 cent. Okay. But if, let's say, if you wanted to, you are a mechanic, and if you wanted to buy 5 bolt or nut, you'll find it very difficult to get because everyone sells at wholesale. So they come to us and they ask us that, we need 5 nut and bolt. We used to sell them at 5. So they used to feel it very cheap. But for us, the profit margin was at least 100 times in many cases. Are you getting my point? But if someone used to ask us for buying, let's say 20 kgs, then we used to have a different price. So based on what the consumer asks or what they are willing to pay, we used to charge. So let's say many consumers used to negotiate with us that why are you charging 5? Why don't you charge us only 3? We used to give it because still we make enormous profits. So what is the first degree? Each consumer is charged with the price that they are willing to pay. Are you getting my point? In the second degree, what is the second degree? It is not based on every customer, but it is based on what? Units. Which means if you come to me for asking 5 bolt, I will charge you a different price. But if you again come to me for asking 100 bolts, I may charge you different price. So it's not based on different customers, but it's based on different units. So most of the wholesalers, they charge different price for a big quantum than for a less quantum, right?
Yes.
That's the second degree. In the first degree, every customer, different price. In the second, even if it's the same customer, every unit, different price. And in the third degree, the best one, consumers are segregated into different categories. I keep everyone into different boxes. And based on their demographics or traits, and then prices are determined by demand of each group. Can you recollect something like this? In what case this has been the situation? Consumers are
Cluster.
Sorry? I didn't get it. What?
Say.
I didn't hear it. What?
Is it like a cluster analysis?
No, but what product? Just think of a product where it's a monopoly, but customers are separated into different boxes, and then within those boxes, you based on the demand, you sell the product. So everyone is charged different pricing based on the based on the feature that they are into. Anything you can recollect? Okay.
Tele
Now, yeah, go ahead.
Telecom,
Uh,
like for mobile,
hmm.
selling a mobile.
Okay, let me give you a better example. For example, let's say I am the biggest bank in the country. Okay, I am the only bank in the country. Now, I have 5 different types of customers. One who comes for home loan, another who comes for car loan, education loan, working capital, and then the other personal loan. So I've categorized my customers into different sections, right? Now within those sections, based on where is that demand, supply, or credit risk, accordingly, I charge them different interest rates. Got it?
Yes.
So this is where you have made, as you rightly said, some clusters, and in those clusters you charge different price. So you're giving the same money, right, to everyone, whether for a consumer finance or for education loan. The money is same, but since you come from a different category, you are going to be charged different interest rates. Got it? So that's what the third degree is. Clear? Now what happens due to price discrimination? Due to price discrimination, very important thing. First of all, we are going to assume that there are no fixed costs. So constant variable costs, so that MC equals to ATC. This is one assumption. No fixed cost. That's just an assumption. So all your costs are variable. Clear? So your total cost is equal to only variable cost.
Variable cost.
Clear? So now we will see what will be the situation when there is no price discrimination, and then we will see what happens with price discrimination to compare the advantage of price discrimination. Okay. So when there is no price discrimination, I'm charging everyone the same price. Correct?
Yes.
So here see this example. Let's say the price is 100 and the quantity is 80. So the profit basically I am going to have is 2400. Why is that so? See here. What happens in this situation? The price is $100 and the quantity is 80. So basically my revenue is 80 into 100, that is 8,000.
8,000.
And the cost which I had is 70. So 70 into 80 is 5,600. So your profit is 2,400, right? Correct?
Yes.
But do you notice that as per the demand curve, I should be producing where I should basically, my profit maximizing output is where MC equals to MR, but I could still, if I want to meet the demand, I could still produce more, right? But I'm not producing more. Why am I not producing more? Because that's not profitable for me as much as it should be. What is this situation? If it was a perfect competition, price would have been at this point, right? Correct?
Yes.
And then quantity would have also been increased to this point. So this area that you see is not being pursued by others because no one will enter into the market. So what is the situation that you see here? That there is something that we call as deadweight loss. What is deadweight loss? This is the inefficiency. The monopolist is not producing this part. Why? Because they want maximum profit. Correct? So compared to perfect competition, the quantity produced has a deadweight loss. What is this called as? Deadweight loss. Implying that a single price strategy is inefficient allocation of resources. Clear? So because I'm charging a single price only, I'm charging everyone the same price. I will not be able to sell to those who are not able to afford it. Correct? Ideally, what should happen? I should also charge someone 80 and sell this. I should also charge someone 60 and sell this, 70 and sell this, whatever. Correct? But since I'm using a single price strategy, I am getting profits, but I'm not selling to the maximum point. That is inefficient allocation of resources. Correct? Got my point?
Yes.
So it's like, let's assume that in India, the bank, there's only one bank. And if it tells that, okay, I'm going to charge only 15% for whoever wants to buy loan. So only the corporates will be able to afford it, right? The home loan They will not be able to afford it. So in that case, is the banking reaching out to everyone?
No.
No, that's the problem. But with price discrimination, just see what is happening now. Some units are sold at 110, some units are sold at more than that. And in that way, what is happening? Your profit is also increasing and your allocation of resources is also more efficient than without discrimination. Correct? So the total output initially, which was 80, has now increased to 110 units. So initially it was somewhere 80. Now the total output has increased to 110 units. And if you see the deadweight loss, the blank portion has also reduced because now I'm charging different prices. Are you getting it? Correct?
Yes.
So if you are able to discriminate the price and sell it, you'll be able to sell more. Correct?
Will it have, how about the profits? Like
profits are also
will it be different?
See, initially the profits were at 2,400, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now see what has happened. The profit has also increased to 3,200 because I'm able to discriminate.
Okay.
Now, what is the best situation? The best situation is that I'm able to make the deadweight loss 0, which means I'm able to sell everyone at whatever price they want. That is called perfect price discrimination. Perfect price discrimination is possible. Let's see that. An extreme case, which is only theoretical, they say, is a case of perfect price discrimination. If this were possible, monopolists will charge each consumer the maximum that they are willing to pay, such that there will be no deadweight loss because the monopolist will produce what? The same quantity as under perfect competition. Got it? But in this case, with perfect price discrimination, there would be no consumer surplus. It would all be captured by the monopolist. The important thing to note is that when compared to perfectly competitive industry, monopoly firm will produce less total output and charge a higher price. Means this is just an ideal situation. In reality, monopolists will not do this. In reality, the monopolist will not do it. Why? Because it is difficult to charge each and every customer how much they are willing to pay. It's very difficult. That's possible. That's possible when you have something called as a natural monopoly. In natural monopoly, I'm not saying it's completely possible. In natural monopoly, there is a possibility that the monopolist can maximize their profits because you don't have a choice. You have to buy it. See, in a non-natural monopoly, if the monopoly is charging too high, you will not buy it, right? But for example, let's say fuel prices in India. Okay, do you have a choice? You have to buy the fuel, right? And if the fuel prices are increasing still, do we have a choice? We don't have any choice.
We don't have a choice.
So fuel prices or your utility bills or your gas bills, there's a natural monopoly there. So in such case, what happens? When average cost of production for a single firm is falling throughout the relevant range of consumer demand, we say it's a natural policy. Means the more and more there is demand, the average cost keeps on reducing. The average cost keeps on reducing. That's the more and more demand, the cost gets reduced. That's called a natural monopoly. The entry of another firm into the industry will divide the production between the two and result in higher average cost, right? However, that will not happen in a natural monopoly. The large economies of scale in an industry present barriers to entry. So as I said, not everyone can start up a power company. Not everyone can start up a oil and gas company, right? Most of these companies are highly regulated, isn't it?
Yes.
They are controlled by the government. If they were not controlled by government, what would happen? An unregulated natural monopoly will produce less than the optimum quantity, which is why government regulates these monopolies to improve allocation of resources. Now notice here, if it was unregulated, you are the monopoly, and if it was unregulated, you will decide the price PU unregulated, and you will sell only QU. Now at this price, what is the situation? Your price is about average cost. Now I will discuss to you what is average and marginal cost. What is average cost? The method reduces the price equal to ATC. This price is equal to, see that. Where is this price? Average cost price is at the point of ATC, correct?
ATC.
At this point, what happens? Monopolist earns normal profit. Economic profit is zero, right? Zero? No. Right. See, you are at point ATC, so you do earn some that normal profit. But what is marginal costing? Marginal costing is a point where price is equal to MCE, but it is less than ATC. At marginal cost, will you earn economic profit? When you're producing ATC, do you earn profits?
No.
No. But what is happening at 0.8? See, if you are unregulated, if no one controls you, how much quantity you are making high profits, but how much quantity you are selling? Only this. Correct? Are you getting my point?
Yes.
So then you're not selling to the industry. The industry, how can they survive? The market, how can they survive? You're the natural monopolist. So if the government, if you want to reduce your price, let's say you reduce your price to AC, average cost, then you're selling more quantity, correct? See, your quantity has increased at this point. Clear?
Yes.
Now at this point, you are just making normal profit. At this point, you are making huge profits. But if I force to sell you to the maximum, to the point where it is marginal cost, you will sell maximum output, right? Till QM. But will a natural monopolist do that? Because here you make economic losses. Then what is the government thinking? The government is thinking that I want the companies to sell maximum. Yes or no?
Yes.
So the governments will compensate you for your losses by subsidy. Are you getting this? So first of all, the government will regulate that you cannot charge this price. Cap out your price till average cost. So then average cost is fine. But if the government wants to maximize the output, it will force you to charge marginal cost. But if you charge you marginal cost, you will complain the government, how will I make money? Then the government will tell, don't worry, you produce maximum, I will subsidize you. Are you getting it?
Yes.
So see this. Regulators often attempt to increase competition and efficiency through efforts by reducing artificial barriers to trade, licensing requirements, quota and tariff. So regulators want to reduce competition. But because monopolists produce less than the optimum quantity, government regulation may be aimed to improve resource allocation by regulating the price monopolies may charge. So government tries doing everything. They will also try to reduce the competition and domination of yours. They will have anti-competition laws. They will break down the company and all, or they will nationalize it, right? But still the government feels that they are not optimizing their output. Then the government will force them what? The government will force them to reduce the price till marginal cost.
Marginal cost.
So what happens at this point? Monopolists make economic losses, but the government provides subsidy so that the firm earns normal profit. Clear? So in natural monopoly, the price will be charged to the marginal cost and the subsidy will be provided by the government so that the output is maximum. Clear?
Yes.
Right. As explained, the supply function can only be determined by the perfect competition. Supply curve is just marginal cost curve above the AVC. Now here in natural monopoly, there is no well-defined supply function. Except for perfect competition, you will find it very difficult to find the supply function in all other structures. So that is not that important, as what is important here is that there are two types of costing: average costing and marginal costing. If you are selling at average cost, you're making normal profits, but still not optimum quantity. So that optimum quantity comes at marginal cost only. Clear?
Yes.
Now we move to the last section where we understand how do we say that there is a monopoly or not. So that is concluded by defining the pricing power in the industry. So one of the strategies we understood was the pricing power. So if you are able to control the price, then you are a monopoly. If you're not, if you're a price taker, then you're a perfect competition.
Perfect competition.
We would like to be able to measure the elasticity of demand. By elasticity of demand also we can say that, but it is very difficult. Regulators therefore use percentage of market sales, means what is your market share, to measure monopoly. But when there are mergers and acquisition between the two largest market shares, then they raise an alarm that the market is becoming from competitive to going towards monopoly, right?
Monopoly.
So therefore, not every merger and acquisition is permitted. There are very much hurdles in M&A also, right? Government authorities may not permit them because if they determine that the market share of the combined firm is too high, then that's not good for the economy, right? So instead of focusing on the elasticity to understand whether it is perfectly competitive or monopoly, they now calculate something which is market share, and that is called the concentration measures. Means how much is the concentration of the large companies. So there is a ratio called N firm concentration ratio, which is nothing but the total of the percentage of market shares. For example, let's say there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 companies with market share. Okay. 40, 55, 65, 70, 80. The top 6 firms have how much? 80% of the market share, correct? They have asked me to find 4 firm concentration ratio. What is a 4 firm concentration ratio? First means what is the top 4 companies market share? Now, what is the top 4 companies market share? Easy. 25 plus 15 plus 15 plus 10. You simply add them. So 25 plus 15 plus 15 plus 10. That gives me the top 4 companies 65. Now have a market share of 65%.
65.
Now here we add a twist. What if there is a merger between the top 2 companies, A and B? There's a merger between A and B. Now what is the combined then market share of A and B? 40.
40.
Correct? And then take the other 3. So it will be then 15 plus 10 plus 5. So now what is the market share? It is slightly increased from 60 to 65 to 70. Correct? But what is the situation here? Although this is showing me slight increase, in reality what has happened? In reality, it is not showing me the true picture of what the first 2 firms have created. The merger of the 2 firms have created. Are you getting my point? So the limitation of N firm ratio is that it may be less sensitive to M&A with large market shares, right? So when there is a merger and acquisition, do you find a substantial change in the concentration ratio?
No.
It only increased slightly. Correct? It increased. Has it increased significantly? No.
No.
It just increased from 65 to 70%. Correct? Not that great. So the market power of the largest firm in the industry has increased significantly from, I mean, as such, if you notice, it is 65 to 70 for the market. But actually, if you notice for the first 2 firms, initially, what was the situation? It moved from, it was initially the first firm was 25%, but then it increased to 40%, 40. The dominant firm.
Yes.
But that is not reflecting in the N firm concentration ratio. N means number of firms, 4 firm concentration ratio here. It did not reflect. So this problem is reduced by an alternate measure called Huffindel-Horstman index. Huffindel-Horstman index, HHI, is nothing but the sum of squares of the market share. sum of the squares. So let's take the square of this. So 0.25, 25% is 0.25 square plus 0.15. So in your calculator, do 0.25 square, store 1. Correct. Then you do 0.15 square, store 2. And put that as store 3 also because it's the same. And then 0.1 square as store 4 and then add all 4. You'll get 11.75%.
Yes.
Now, after merger, what will happen? The first one will change to 0.40. The second one will be 15. The third one will be 10. I will make it 10. Sorry. And the fourth one will be 5. Now see the change. The change is much bigger. It is 19.5. So there is a significant increase. Okay. Correct?
Yes.
Now see, this can raise an alarm that yes, the competition is moving towards monopoly. Correct? If you just look at the 4-firm n-firm concentration ratio, you will not find the issue of merger. Correct? But if you calculate the Huffington-Horstman index, you can now gauge the impact of merger also. Clear? Got it?
Yes.
So n-firm concentration ratio is simply the total of the top 3, 4, 5, whatever they give, that market share. But better one is Huffington-Horstman index because it takes the sum of squares. So even if there is a merger or acquisition, that will be captured in properly. That change will be now raising an alarm. So from 65 to 70, the regulators may not be worried. But when they see 11.75 to 19.5, they will be really worried that something is wrong. So they may not approve the merger. Okay. Clear?
Yes.
Well, that's the end of an amazing topic of market structure. Okay. Any doubts or anything?
In the natural monopoly.
Right. In the natural monopoly, right? Yes.
Can you go at the top?
Yeah.
Yeah. Here. There was something where there are two. When there is entry of other player, then the average total cost increases.
Okay. The entry of another firm into the industry would divide the production between the firms and result in higher average cost of production for the single producer. So if I add on another company here, then they are saying the production will be divided. So then the profits of the producer will lower down because it will result in higher average cost of production than for a single producer. So if you're a single producer, because of economies of scale, your cost of production will keep on reducing. Average cost will keep on reducing. Are you getting me? So if you are the only seller, right, your costs are fixed. Mostly you have a fixed cost, right? That fixed cost will keep on reducing. So let's say if I've set up a power company, I have so many power plants. I've invested so much into it, even at a telecom company, so much of investment into infra. So the more and more I keep on selling, my average cost will keep on going down, provided. So I have to sell maximum. But if another firm joins in here, then I will not be able to sell enough. So my average cost will not come down.
Okay.
So if the average cost is coming down, that means I am a natural monopoly. That means I am the only one.
Okay.
So now see the upper line. For a single firm, the average cost of production is keeping on falling. Then we call it a natural monopoly. Got it?
Yes.
So if we observe that the average cost is continuously falling for a company, then we say it's a natural monopoly. Okay. Correct.
Yes.
Just one moment. Now, see here, we discussed in perfect competition also. Do you see the average cost continuously falling? No, it is initially falling and then rising. Do you observe that?
Yes.
Even in the monopolistic competition, it is initially falling and then rising. But in natural monopoly, it is continuously falling. Of course, it don't fall on a straight line, but a continuous fall. Got it? So just see the shape of that average cost. It is very much, I should say, it's not more curved, but it's more steep in case of natural monopoly.
Natural monopoly.
Clear?
Yes.
Yes. Any further doubts or anything?
Nothing so far.
No problem. So we'll meet in the next section with a new topic. Correct?
Okay.
Yep.
Yes.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Thank you.